Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with my next BYOP. I have my palette here from last month, which I'm going to open in a second, and then I'm going to choose some new eyeshadows for next month. So additionally to the eyeshadows that I'm choosing to add in here, I also want to add in the eyeshadows that I'm currently working on that are able to go in a palette like this, because I found that, for example, the shade Indigo and Coconut palette I really haven't reached for much in the past month because I don't have it easily accessible, and it's the only shade that I'm working on in that palette. So that's why I want to move it in here. But yeah, before we jump into any of the eyeshadows, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. But let's jump into the video. So we're gonna open up the palette to show you what it looks like. So this is what the palette looks like. There is a little bit of a difference since last month. I changed out one of the shades, which is this shade right here. This is a single that I'm currently working on in my whole collection for the pan, and I switched that out with the gold shade from the Natasha Denona Gold palette. When I hit gold on that, just so I could have this more easily available. So that is why this is in here. But yeah, I'm just gonna go through every shade and just quickly discuss how many times I used each eyeshadow, and then we're gonna take it from there. So like I said, we're gonna go through each shade in order in how many times I used each eyeshadow. I'm gonna skip the ones that are in projects because I haven't been tracking them in here, and I also don't want to spoil any projects. But the first one here is in a project, we're gonna skip over that. Then we have this shade here, which is Terra Moon's Cassium, and I have used that 4 times. Next up we have Glam Shop Steroid, which I have used once. Then we have Cleona Glint, which I've used 3 times. For the second row we have the first shade, which is Glam Shop Quasnick, which is a green. I think it's called Acidic in English, and I've used that once. Next up we have Cleona Embroidery, which I also used once. Then we have Colourpop Kiss My Ass, which I've used twice. And then lastly, on like the green row, we have the Sydney Grace eyeshadow in Key Lime, which I've also used twice. For the bottom row, we have another eyeshadow I'm working on, so I'm going to skip over that. Then we have Glam Shop Hollow Nasieplo, which is Rose Gold Hollow, I believe, and I have used that one once. We have Terra Moon's Crimson Eclipse, which I've also used once, and then lastly Cleona Engrave, which I've used 3 times. So that is what my BYOP looked like for January. I'm gonna go ahead and remove all the eyeshadows that yeah, basically remove all the eyeshadows. I'm gonna keep out the eyeshadows that I'm working on, which are these 2 right here, and then I'm also gonna pick out the eyeshadows that I need to add in here that I'm working on, and then from there we're gonna build our palette. So there we have my eyeshadow palette empty, and we have the 2 shades that I'm going to keep in right here. Next up we're going to go ahead and pick out the eyeshadows that I need to add in. So like I said, I'm working on one of the eyeshadows in here, which is the shade Shell Yeah. So I'm going to take that one out so I can put that into the palette. Then additionally I have my Natasha Denona Gold palette, which is underneath here, so I need to move some palettes so I can access my Natasha Denona Gold palette. So yeah, I need to put that one in as well. And like I said, I was already working on the shade Alchemist right here, but I have now hit my goal on that, and the shade I'm working on from here is this one right here, which is called Dijon. So I'm going to take this one out too, so I can add it into my BYOP. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each palette in order from in this pile, and I want to add in eyeshadows that I want to have for this month's theme. Obviously this is kind of the color story we have so far, which is kind of like very neutral. Obviously this one has a bit of a shift. Again, I don't know how well you'll be able to put that up on camera, but it goes from like a kind of neutral mauve tone to a really bright green. So that one is a bit of a pop of color, I guess, in certain lightings, but the rest is very neutral with a peach as well. So that is the start, I guess, of my palette. But I'm gonna go through here, and the theme that I want to have for this month's BYOP is I want to add in a lot of pink shades and like Valentine kind of shades. And also in my palette this month, which is my Modern Renaissance palette, I want to focus on the pinky tones in there, so that's why I also want to add in more pink shades. But I'm just gonna open each palette up to see what I feel like adding in, and we're gonna take it from there. So in here we have some of my Jaded Glow eyeshadows, which I'm actually working on already. And here I actually have another shade that I'm currently working on in my Panos eyeshadow, so I need to add that one in. I forgot to take it out before because I knew I had it in his palette. But this is the shade Rubidium, which is one of my new roll-ins for my Panos eyeshadow, so that is going in the palette as well. Apart from that, in here I do want to add in some sort of iridescent shade from Cleona. This one here right here is screaming my name because I can see a pink shift in it when I'm looking at it. So let's see if I can get that one out. And this one is in the shade Glisten, which is a beautiful iridescent shade, and it has that pink shift, which is why I want to add this one in. So this one is going in. Another shade that I might want to add in is Turret right here, because this is one of the pastel multichromes from Cleona, which I haven't had a chance to play with yet, but I do really want to play with it. So I am gonna try to get them out. It's really difficult with Cleona eyeshadows to get them out because they are like very square, so you can't really just pick them up yet. You have to take everything out around them, but this is the shade right here. So you can see that it has like a pink shift, and I think this will work really well with eyeshadows that I'm panning. And this will also be a fun one to try out because I haven't really played around with this one or any of the pastel multichromes from Cleona, so I want to add this one in as well. And I think that is it for this palette. So we're gonna put these two eyeshadows back in that I'm not gonna use, and then we're gonna move on to the next one. So next up we have another Colourpop palette, which has the rest of my Colourpop shades, and again I want to add in a few shades from here that are kind of pink toned. This one here is screaming my name because it's like the most bright pink, so I'm gonna add that one, take that one out as well. So again I just have to move the shades that are around it, and then we can get that one out. And I don't quite remember which one this could be. It is the shade Spotlight, which is like a pink with a blue shift to it. It's really stunning, and I think this will be fun to work on in February for Valentine's Day. So that one is coming in. Apart from that, I think I'm happy now with my Cleona shadow because I actually have 4 this month. Granted, I'm actually working on one of them, but yeah, I think that's good for Cleona eyeshadows because I have quite a few already this month. So this palette can be put away as well. Then we have the next Cleona eyeshadow palette, which actually doesn't have Cleona eyeshadows in it. It has by Terra Moon's eyeshadows mainly, and then some randoms down here. And in here there's definitely a few that I want to add in. I do want to add in some of the pinks up here, the matte ones, because I don't have any mattes really in this BYOP apart from the ones that I'm panning. But I do want to add in some pink mattes, so I'm going to add in this one, which is the shade Utopia, which is a really nice pastel pink. So this one can go in. And then I was also thinking about adding in this one. But I think this one might be a maybe because it's a bit of a deeper pink and it might interfere a bit with the pinks that I'm panning. Although those are really deep ones and more like ready toned, like fuchsia. I'm gonna put this out as a maybe, and then we'll see how much I can fit in this palette. And I just realized I can actually put some of the eyeshadows back while I'm having the palettes open. These are the 2 Terra Moon shadows that goes in here, so those can go back. I forgot to put back some Cleona eyeshadows as well, so let's do that now. We have here, which is engraved, can go back in its spot right here. And I think that's all that goes in this palette. Now we also have embroidery that fits right here, so that is also in its home now, and that palette is now done. And then in this palette we have the iridescent shade that needs to go back in. I completely forgot to do this before, sorry about that guys, but that is going back in there. And then yeah, sorry. So here we have my kind of more neutral tone palette, and I don't think I really want to add in anything from here right now because I'm panning a lot of neutral shades, and all of these neutral mattes here, I mean they're not the same tone, but I feel like this one for example is very similar to some shades that are up here, so I'm not gonna add anything in I think from this palette this month because it will overlap with what I already am panning. But however, I do have 2 shades that need to go back in here, so I'm going to put those 2 back, and then we can close this palette. I'm thinking here if there's any Colourpop eyeshadows that I do want to add in. I don't know, I think maybe this, I'm looking at like the shimmers. I'm not like really feeling these shimmers. Maybe the only one I can think of that I'm feeling at the moment is like this one right here, which is from the ASMR Pleasure palette, and it's called Earthshine. This one is kind of calling my name, so why not just add it in, I guess. Although it does have a pink shift as well, a blue shift, sorry, similar to Spotlight. So let's just swatch them out and see what they look like, because I don't want to add in too many similar shades. So there we have those 3. I mean, they're not the same, but I feel like these 2 do have like similar shifts, so maybe it's not the best adding that in. Maybe I should go for something else instead. Maybe I should go for this one right next to it, which is called bare minimum, also on this my pleasure palette. I think maybe that's better. Let me swatch that one as well. I mean, that's definitely different, so maybe I should add that one in instead of Earthshine. But apart from that, I think I'm happy with this palette. We have this mini Colourpop palette as well, which looks like this. I don't really want to add anything in here, but this eyeshadow here needs to go back in its place, so that is that palette. Then we have these two big ones, which are my Sydney Grace eyeshadows. Again, I don't know how much I want to add in, but we do have a few eyeshadows that need to go back. I'm thinking if there's anything that I want to like take from this one, but I don't really think this will really go with my palette because I do want to make that a pink tone kind of palette this month. So yeah, I think I'm done. Nothing from this palette this time. And then we have the last palette right here, which has more pink tones in it, so maybe there's something from here that I want to grab. But I think what I'm going to do first is I'm going to see if I can fit all of these eyeshadows in, and then if I can, I will grab something from here. So let's do that first, and then we can revisit this palette in a second. So we have the palette right here, so we're going to try just adding everything in. I'm going to speed this up so that it's more fun to watch, and then yeah, just take it from there. So I can definitely fit everything in, and I might even be able to fit definitely one more, and I think I'm going to be happy with one more because it's a bit crowded at the moment, and I think I want to rearrange it and have room for that. So that is it. So let's just look at the last palette to see what I think it could go with it, because yeah, I want to add something from here, and I'm thinking maybe I want to add something that can combine these kind of neutral shades to the pinks, but again, I have things in my palette that also can do that. So what could I add? I mean, the shade that's really calling my name is this one right here, which is a pastel roses shade. I think this is Spectrum. I think this one is calling my name because it has that really bright pink base, but it does have more of a kind of neutral shift. I think you can see the gold orange on camera, but I can see a green shift as well. This is honestly such a unique eyeshadow, and I think this is the one that I want to add in to add more kind of dimension to the palette and kind of bind those orange tones to the pinks and like the neutral tones to the pink. So that is the eyeshadow I'm gonna go for and add into my palette. So here we have my palette. Yeah, this is what it looks like. I'm not sure if I'm completely happy with the arrangement, so I might go through it and see if I can rearrange it a bit, and then I will be right back. So I think I'm happy with the palette here. Yeah, I really like it apart from one shade, which is the outlier, and that is this mustard shade right here, but I want to have it in the palette because I'm working on it, and the gold palette is so big to have around when I'm only working on one shade. So this is what my palette looks like. I'm gonna go ahead and swatch everything out and yeah, show you what the final color story looks like. There you have my color story for this month. I am pretty happy with it. I think the only thing that I'm not happy with is all the eyeshadows that I'm currently panning, like how they don't necessarily go with the color story, but overall I think it's really nice, and I think I did kind of get most of them in, apart from maybe these two right here. But this one does have a mauve shift, which I don't think you can pick up on camera. Maybe you can, and maybe it looks better for you, because now when I'm looking at it, it looks really bright green. But overall I'm really happy with this color story and with the palette itself. So this is going to be my BYOP for February. And yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye guys.